right, so Bob, we're here. We're talking about grilling pizza. A lot of people are kind of afraid to do it, but they shouldn't be. How easy is it?
All it takes is the will and a grill, which, that rolls off the tongue nicely, but it's really true. All you need is your own backyard barbecue and then some really basic pizza ingredients, including some pizza dough, some cheese, some toppings, and a sauce of your choice. And there's lots of options for that. But I don't even make my own dough. There are dough recipes in our book, but I always just go buy dough because that way you're off to the races, and it takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes from start to finish to make a pizza on the grill.
All right, so let's get started. You said a lot of the trick is in the dough, so what do we need to do?
All right, well, I'm starting with a ball of dough that I bought at Pizza Libretto, which they're always happy to sell you a ball of dough or two for $2 each. Lots of other grocery stores and stuff will sell it, or any pizzeria. So you take your dough. You want to make sure that you've let it rise to room temperature. And here I've sprinkled a little bit of coarse cornmeal, polenta, on the cutting board. And that's going to do two things. It's going to help keep the dough from sticking to the cutting board and to the grill. And at the same time, the dough is not going to absorb this cornmeal. So the cornmeal will stay on top of the dough after it's been grilled and will give it a nice rustic texture. The olive oil is also going to keep the dough from sticking to the grill. And at the same time, as the dough is grilling, it's essentially kind of frying on the grill. So that helps you get that nice, really crusty, crispy texture. By the way, you want to let the dough rise to room temperature. If it's right out of the refrigerator, as you press it out, it's just going to shrink back in like a rubber band. You can either press it out by hand, as I'm doing, or take a really fancy rolling pin, like this. And you want to make it as thin as you can possibly make it. Personally, anyway, I do that because I love a nice, crispy, thin crust pizza. So, over to the grill, which is preheated, and it's at about 400 degrees. Now, watch how malleable this dough is. I'm just going to pick it up like that, and people are always afraid that the dough is going to fall between the grates. Watch this.
Wow.
Just like that. So we cook the first side of the dough over direct heat, flip it over, turn off the burner that's directly underneath it. I'm turning the outside grates to high. So there's no heat coming from underneath, but these burners are on super high now. Put the sauce, the toppings, and the cheese on, then we close the lid, and the circulating heat will melt the cheese, heat the toppings, and brown the bottom of the dough.
So the barbecue at that point kind of turns into more of an oven?
Yes, exactly. There we go, look at that. You can see how, well, let's just look at the bottom here. Look, see how nice
stunning.
And perfectly brown the bottom is? You can see the cheese bubbling. That's when you know your pizza's really done, when it's nice and crispy on the bottom. And there's actually a little test. You run the tongs underneath, and you hear that noise? And that's when you know it's done. Wow, you can really hear that, can't you?
Yeah.
That is the sound of a crispy pizza.
I got my eye on this guy right here.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, go for it.
All right. Oh my goodness. Amazing. Amazing. Fantastic job, Bob.
As advertised?
Better than advertised. In the rain. Thank you so much, Bob. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.